Hello and welcome again to the Pocono Liars Club. This week we have a special guest, T. Morris, who's going to talk to us about social media, and it's going to be very interesting for me because I don't know much about this, and it'll be great for me to learn this stuff because I'm a dummy. And he wrote the book, Social Media for Dummies. T, tell us a little about yourself and hold up your books.
Well, first off, I can't take credit for Social Media for Dummies. I did not write that. That was actually a series of other authors that they've done, and they've done each platform. They have Facebook for Dummies. They've got Twitter for Dummies. They have Instagram for Dummies, and then they got even more granular. They got into social marketing, social media marketing for Dummies at one point. I'm their guy when it comes to content creation. And what I've written is I've written what I call the Holy Trinity of content creation. Just released this year, 4th edition, Podcasting for Dummies with fellow podcaster Chuck Tomasi. So this is the 4th edition. You can tell it's the 4th edition because it's got the pretty podcaster on the cover. If you see earbuds, that's the 3rd edition. Pretty podcaster, that's the 4th edition. Then you've got Twitch for Dummies. I'll be talking about Twitch for Dummies a little later. And then I have Discord for Dummies, which is the way some people described it to me is picture Facebook for gamers, but that's a very narrow band look at it. I would say picture Facebook if Facebook was a less spammy and more focused communications platform. That's Discord for Dummies. The plan that I have for this, I mean, I'm going to follow your lead, like any good dance partner, Michael. I will follow your lead. But here's the thing: the way I was picturing this in my head is we could talk about low investment and high investment approaches to social media. I should also mention too, you were close. I did write with my wife, and we just released this. All dumpster fires aside, 2020 was a great year for me. I produced the 4th edition of Podcasting for Dummies with Chuck Tomasi. I finished producing the 1st edition of Discord for Dummies, which released in the spring of this year. And in the middle of all that, my wife and I wrote the 2nd edition of Social Media for Writers. And while you're asking a question, I will throw that up. I will throw that link up in the chat so that people know where to find that book.
Okay. That's what I said social media for writers is what I meant to say. Please forgive me. Let's talk just in general. Too many writers don't understand how to use social media in general to support themselves because all I say is buy my book, buy my book, buy my book.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way to present yourself in any social media? What are you trying to push?
You're trying to push you. The best way to look at social media for writers of any kind is that this is a cult of personality. You're trying to make a connection with your audience, and that is really what the end result is. You want to make a connection, a legitimate, sincere connection with your audience. Now, in the early days of social media, people would say, share everything. And I'd be the first one to tell you, no, don't share everything. That's reckless. There are some things that you're going to want to share, and you decide, yes, these are the things that I want to share with my audience. There's going to be some stuff that you're going to keep close to the vest. And then there are going to be some days where you need to walk away from social media because you're having a bad day. I had one of those this morning, and I own it. And that's the other thing that you as an author need to be able to do is you need to be able to say,
don't worry about the link right now because it's going to be recorded.
I'm almost there. Almost there.
No one's going to see it if they watch the recording because it's not going to pop up in the chat room in the recording.
That's true. But but there is an importance to making sure that you have time to dedicate to yourself as well as time to your audience. And that is what you're doing in social media. You are making a legitimate connection with your audience in some way, shape, or form. And when we're not just talking about me here, we're also talking about people like my wife, Pip, talking about people like Merle Lafferty. We're talking people like Chuck Windig. And each of them have their own unique platforms that they excel in. And you can find them on all the platforms, sure. But you're not necessarily going to find everybody on every platform all doing, just completely bullhorning your book. Now, people will be doing that. People will gladly have an entire Twitter account where it's just link, 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 and it's all going back to their Amazon. That is the worst way to do it, because if I sat here for an hour and I told you to keep buying my books, you'd all tune out within like 5 to 10 minutes. But it's that old school approach to new media, which is not the way to handle social media. So the first thing you have to decide is, okay, how much am I willing to share with my audience, and how much am I going to keep close to the vest?
And I guess one of the issues should be, how much do you want to piss off your audience? Because, some people want to avoid talking about politics or religion completely, but it depends on your image, I suppose. Because for me, politics helps me sell my books.
Right. And it also goes back to something that my priest said many, many, many moons ago, and I apply it to social media now, which is, if you're gonna engage, whether it's your audience or you're gonna engage an individual in an argument, the question is, what do I have to gain from it? And remember, there's another story that you're not seeing on the other end of that person's life. They could be having a bad day. They could come at you full barrel. You could be having a bad day and you just go online and you just vomit whatever is on your mind. So it's coming back to, and I just put the link into the chat. In our book, we do have a chapter that's just about social media strategies, not just what to do, but what not to do. And the question you have to ask yourself, if you're going to, as you say, Michael, talk about politics or talk about hot topics, or anything that is that is a panic button for some people, you got to ask yourself one question: is this a hill I want to die on? Mm-hmm. And that is a legit question. And I mean, the aforementioned Chuck Wendig, you have to remember that when it comes to expressing himself, that is something he has never been shy about.
Correct.
There is a phenomenal blog post that I constantly refer back to, and it is "Writers Should Act More Like Motherfucking Rock Stars." Now, that right there, just the title alone, that sums up Chuck Wendig in a nutshell. And when Marvel Comics suddenly let him go for reasons involving his social media presence, I call bullshit, because he had already done 3 books for them, highly successful books for them. Mm-hmm. And there was no reasoning behind it whatsoever. But Chuck knew. Chuck's like, look, this is about these are right wingers targeting me, and I got caught in the crossfire. Okay. And there's, and this is one of the things that you have to ask yourself. And there may be a situation where you're saying, you know what, I just want to keep my social media as non-confrontational as possible. There may be other bits of your social media where you go, no, I'm going to die on that hill. And I have my issues, and I have those things that I'm going to die on. But there's not one size fits all. You have to find the size that fits you best.
Well, then because we only have an hour or so, let's talk about the kind of things we want to do.
Sure.
I basically just do Facebook, and I probably should do more. And so give me advice. What should I be doing? What is the best way to reach an audience, and how? There's so many different ones. Oh my God, there's Instagram and TikTok and Twitch and Discord. I can't do them all. How should I decide what I should concentrate on?
Well, the first thing you should always be aware of when it comes to doing any sort of social media platform is, if I'm doing more social media and less writing, I'm doing something wrong. And there are 2 approaches to social media. And as I said at the very beginning of this talk, there's thank you, Kat. There is the low investment end and the high investment end. So let's talk about the low investment end first, which is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and what I call the oh no, I don't have my phone. But I would call them the mobile app cornucopia of social media, because most people now are doing a lot of their stuff from their phone, because you have that ability now. Hootsuite, which is a scheduling program, they have a component that you can use your phone. Radiant 6, which is a very high-end, expensive version of it, that they do the same thing. All of these, Sprout Social, all of these devices that help you schedule posts. You can go on ahead and write copy for each of these places. Or with one post from Instagram, you can publish on up to 4 different platforms. You have a lot of options to cross promote, cross platform. What's terrific about these low investment platforms is that they are just that. They are low investment, which means Facebook is free, Twitter free, Instagram free. All of these programs are absolutely free of charge. So really, you just have to find out which ones are going to work best for you. And you're going to find that not all platforms are going to be where you're going to excel. LinkedIn, for example, I do not promote my books on LinkedIn. On occasion, if they're relevant, like for example, Discord, Twitch, podcasting for dummies, yes, I will push that on LinkedIn because there are people that will want to know Discord, that will want to know Twitch, that will want to know podcasting for dummies. They're going to want to know what that platform is and what you can do with it. The truth of it, though, is that if I'm going on there and I'm promoting science fiction, that is not where my audience is going to reside. Some people may, but let's be honest, LinkedIn is about finding a gig. LinkedIn is about finding a job. And my steampunk series will not help you find a job unless you're trying to become a professional cosplayer. It's not going to help you find a job. So that takes out LinkedIn. Now, going to some of the hot new hip, TikTok and Snapchat, because yes, people still use Snapchat. It helps to know what they are. It helps to know in the end what they are. But you have to stop and say, okay, if I know what they are, how could that help me? Mm-hmm. Instagram. A lot of people wouldn't think Instagram would be good for authors, but it's fantastic for authors because you can use Instagram in a plethora of different ways. You can talk about your book, but have a photograph of something that inspires your book. Or you can have the book cover and use Instagram as a way of revealing the book cover. You have a lot of versatility. Or you can just go on ahead and just take a selfie of yourself getting ready to write. These are all different things that you can do to promote yourself on a platform that is visual. Okay, well, then that's great. So what about Snapchat? The reason why Snapchat is not necessarily the best for an author, unless you're an author that is touring a lot. Snapchat, I found after tinkering with it and I would say if you're curious about a platform, give it a week, 2 at the most. And I worked in Snapchat for roughly 2 weeks to a month. And this is what I found out about it. It's a neat application that allows for some video, mainly still shots. And it is so good that people are now duplicating it. You now have Instagram Reels, and you've got you've got Instagram stories, and you've got Facebook stories, and you've got Facebook Reels, which is basically their version of TikTok and Snapchat.
Hey, but I just have a question about Instagram, if I can, because I'm trying to figure it out. If I go just start posting these things, how do people find out about it? Do I just tell people, hey, I have an Instagram channel, come join me?
Let's cover that later.
Okay.
Let's cover that later. Sorry. Yeah, no, that's okay, but let's cover that later. But with Snapchat, what I found out is because of its temporary nature. See, I can go back in Instagram and I can look at all the different stuff you posted on Instagram all the way back to the beginning. But if you're using Instagram stories or Facebook stories or Snapchat, where this started, it's up for 24 hours and then it's gone. So if I mention that I'm going to be somewhere tomorrow at this event doing a book signing, if you don't catch it when I post it, and tomorrow it'll be gone. So you really have so I'm looking at Snapchat going, well, this is great if I'm doing like a special event or something like that. But and when I say doing a special, I mean like I'm actually using Snapchat at that event. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it really didn't work for me. Same thing with TikTok. TikTok allows you to do very quick little videos. Okay, that's clever. That's great. You can edit them. That's pretty awesome. It worked great for stand-up comedians that are doing impersonations of lip syncs to Trump. Yeah, that's great too. As a writer, for me, it doesn't quite work. Now I've seen Gail Carriger work it, and she does like little quick interviews with herself. She takes questions from audiences and she puts it on TikTok. That's great too. Still not my jam. There are so many different social media platforms that are out there. What you have to find are the platforms that work best for you. And if you're starting completely cold, I would say look at the big three for me, which I define as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You master those three, you're golden. Now, that's low investment. That's low investment. So what would I define as high investment? High investment are these monsters: Twitch and podcasting. And why is that? Well, you're looking at it. I mean, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, yeah, all that's free. This mic boom, this mic adapter, these cables, this microphone right here, you're looking at $200 right there just for the mic and the mic stand. Okay. We haven't even gone into the kind of internet you need for that sort of thing. Yes, I can stream from my phone if I want to, but I better have hella good Wi-Fi. And then you've got so you've got that to deal with. As you saw when I switched cameras, I have multiple cameras. I have 1, 2, 3 cameras on this setup alone. I have 1, 2 with a third monitor bolted into my wall. Again, all this, if you were to get a full rundown of the cost of my studio alone, you're easily looking between $1,000 to $2,000. But you don't start there. You work up from there. Okay. And that's not including the computer itself. So what is the advantage of working with high tech? Well, or high investment. High investment, you get to do a lot more. Case in point, Mike Ventrella. He has experience as a podcaster because he recorded his voice, sent it to us, and then we zhuzhed it in the studio. And the next thing you know, I'm sure when Mike first heard his episode of Tales from the Archives, he said, "That's not me. That can't be me." But yeah, we took his basic audio, we zhuzhed it up, we cleaned it up, we added music, we added special effects. All this stuff costs money. Again, it's an investment. And then there's and that's just from podcasting. Then there's Twitch. Twitch is video streaming. So not only is it an investment for you from an equipment point of view, but also from a time point of view. You have to sit down and clock in time to stream to people. And then on top of all that, there's an emotional component to it because you are working live. And after about 2 hours, yeah, you're going to start to feel it. And the longest I've ever streamed has been 12 hours. And I thought I did pretty good, but I got friends who have actually streamed 24 hours, and these are friends that are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they say, "Yeah, I need about 2 days to recover." So
I was a disc jockey, and I did that sometimes. You know, when
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
After spending all day, it was like, oh god.
yeah. It's almost like you got a hangover.
Yeah.
And what it is you are constantly on.
Mm-hmm.
That's a high investment. So the question you have to ask yourself is, am I going to jump in the deep end and go high investment, or do I want to start simple and go low investment? Now, take it from me, the guy who's written all these books on social media, and I'm the first one to say, go low, start low, aim high. When you're ready, you can start podcasting, and as we've mentioned in Podcasting for Dummies, you could just use your phone and start from there. But
do you think it's important for people to have the right personality to do those kind of things? You and I both have like a theater background, even though it's not a serious theater background. We're used to speaking.
Speak for yourself. I was SAG-AFTRA once upon a time. You back off, mister. No,
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I didn't think of you as being in movies or anything. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that. Been there, done that.
I apologize profusely.
It's okay. It's okay. That was another lifetime, man. But I still get my SAG-AFTRA check for the episode of Homicide: Life on the Street that I did back in the day, and I do not spend that $3.25 just anywhere.
Heidi just got a check for $241 for her appearance on To Tell the Truth. It's amazing.
There it is. There it is.
Back to the story.
There are some people
you need to know your personality. You have to have the right kind of personality to do this. Is what I'm trying to say. Some people
absolutely
are great writers and are terrible speakers.
Right.
So you need to acknowledge your limitations, I guess.
There is a famous line from did you know that before he was a politician, Clint Eastwood was an actor and a director? and he did this little movie called Dirty Harry. And in this little movie called Dirty Harry, he said a man's got to know his limitations. And that's something that you have to know. You may find out that maybe streaming isn't for you. Maybe podcasting isn't for you. And that's also okay. Not podcasting or not streaming is not going to kill anybody's writing career. And it's not going to sink any book. And it's not going to prevent a book from being a success. Now, if you start sneering at writers that get into streaming, if you sneer at writers who get into podcasts, which yes, I know for a fact I have been on the receiving end of that for the past 5-10 years. That just makes you look antiquated, and that is something that you just have to you take with the territory. And now they're the same people that sneered at me about 10 years ago. Now they're going, "Hey, I'm on a podcast." And I'm like, "Well, good for you. I'm real happy for you. You know, you don't need an iPod to listen to that. You know that, right?" And it's stuff like that, that you learn the same. And it's funny too. I've heard authors say the same thing about streaming that they've said about podcasting about 5-10 years ago. And I just throw out caution. I'm seeing a lot of authors now starting to do writing streams. I didn't, and I was the first one that was kind of skeptical. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do a writing stream. And yet I started doing it. I started started doing it with my wife. And it's been wonderful doing a writing stream. I have my work in progress on the screen. You see a smaller camera with me, smaller camera with Pip. And we use the shared desk branding because, again, it's the shared desk. But now we're holding ourselves accountable. We're putting our money where our mouth is. And people have asked us questions like, how do you market this? Are you sure that's the right word choice? I'm not writing by committee. And I've had some people try to backseat write a scene with me. And I'm going, you need to stop that right now because that ain't happening. But if they have questions about, so after this happens, what's next? And that's where conversations start. And I do stream video games and I've done cooking streams before, but the writing streams are something new. And Pip and I found out, yeah, this is actually pretty cool. And so there's room. And just recently I found out Mur Lafferty is now starting to stream as well. And I'm having more and more authors ask me about streaming. And what I tell them is start simple, because when people see my stream, they go, "Oh my God, T's all kinds of tricked out." I'm like, "Yeah, but I've been at this for 3.5 years." So, I put in the mileage.
Well,
And,
no, I guess most of everybody who's watching this video or watching us talk right now are going to be starters. They're not going to be
Right.
people who are that into it. So we
Right.
want to concentrate mostly on the low investment opportunities at this point.
Which is smart.
When they're ready to move to the high, they can get your books. So let's talk
Absolutely.
about, let's suppose you're a new author, you don't have a lot of books, you're not that famous. How would you approach it? What are your pieces of advice?
I can honestly speak from experience.
Mhm.
The way you approach this is that you are representing your works, you're representing your books. So the question is, what do you want to share? What is it that's going to bring people to your social media? And again, I have a Facebook page. And on the Facebook page, I limit it to the stuff specifically for podcasting, specifically for streaming, specifically for writing news and things like that. And then some of that stuff I will share onto my regular page. But if you're starting raw, if you're starting from scratch, the first thing you got to do is you got to say, okay, how often am I going to be posting? And I recommend to people that you post 3 times a day. Morning, afternoon, evening. Easy schedule to start. That doesn't mean that you live and die by that schedule. You just go ahead and start Monday through Friday, 3 times a day. And that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then after you've built an audience and after you find your own groove, go on ahead then, and you can start, maybe you're more comfortable posting on Instagram than you are on Facebook, or you're going onto Instagram and you're just going to cross post from Instagram onto Facebook and Twitter, which you can do. What I would tell people though is that for those 3 posts, don't make them all about your book. You can make them about things concerning your book. Like my first, I think when Michael and I met, back in, the dark times, the days of when, people walked around with swords and we wrote manuscripts on rocks. The book I had was Moravia.
Right.
I didn't always talk about Moravia, but I would share links about piracy. I would share links about beer because that's mentioned in the book. I would share stuff about not brandy, scotch, because I'm a scotch drinker, cigars. I would do stuff related to the book. And within those 6 posts, I would look at 6 posts, and in the 6 posts, 1 or 2 would be about the book, but all the others were book related. And that was the ratio. For every 1 post, I would have 2 or 3 that would be related. That's what's called content marketing. Content marketing is where, and I'll use Michael as an example. He's got his Teddy Roosevelt steampunk epic novel himself, right? Okay, well then he has, in 3 posts, he has 1 post that's specifically about the book, but then he says, so somebody mentioned that Donald Trump is the most rugged president. Can you picture Donald Trump doing this? And then you've got like 5 of the most badass things that Teddy Roosevelt's ever done, And then you have another book, and another book is about steampunk. Or sorry, the post is about steampunk. That's content marketing, because then people are coming to Mike's site, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or elsewhere, not necessarily to find out about the book, but like, well, I know this guy does steampunk links. So they go there. Or they say, well, I'm doing a report on Teddy Roosevelt. Maybe this guy's got a good link for Teddy Roosevelt. So they go there. And then in the midst of that, they go, oh, and he's written a book that's got Teddy Roosevelt and steampunk. Hell, I'll buy that. And that's how content marketing works. But you start simple. And you are patient. This is not a turnkey operation. You have to build your audience. And sometimes, yes, you feel like you are talking into a void.
But you also have to join other authors and other people as well. You can't just sit there and wait for them to come to you. I've found authors I like, and I join them, and I see who posts on their page, and I ask them to be friends. In other words, it can't be all coming in one direction. Correct.
And the way you tell people that you're online is you basically advertise it. You make, if you've got a business card, your business card should have where people can find you. And more importantly, they should have the username of where they can find you. And this is why usernames are so important. This is where you get into branding. My online persona is T Monster, right? So there are some places where you find me as T Monster. Then there are some places where T Monster was taken, so I go with the T Monster. And that's if I can't find that, then I go with T Morris, right? Never brand your social media based on your first book. That is a zero-sum game, because then people aren't gonna find you if you write a different series. I learned this the hard way when my first domain was Moravi.com. And then I wrote the Bill About Batting series, and then I had BillAboutBattings.com. And then there was a third series I was thinking about, and I'm like, crap, I'm going to be broke at this rate. So then I branded tmorris.com. And that is where things changed for me, and I started to understand a little bit more about branding. So there, we got a couple of questions in chat.
Sure, if you want to take them, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
One of them.
Yeah. Do I have suggestions on how to start when you only have short stories published so far? It depends. So Carol, if you have, let's just say you have the rights to these. Let's say you have the rights to 10 short stories that you've written. Okay. That is a podcast waiting to happen. I have found, and I know there are authors who've had great luck doing podcasting novels, full novels, and I just find it too time consuming. Now, granted, I like high production value, so that is one of my shortcomings. But one of the things that I found out is that I will probably never podcast a novel ever again. But when it comes to podcasting short stories and anthologies, I loved doing that. And it was a nice entry into it was a nice way to get the stories out there. And I actually sold a short story to Bain Books from one of my podcasts. And it was because what I did was, and this is how it works. This is how you cover multiple platforms. Let's say you do a podcast and you say you podcast 10 short stories of yours. Well, you now have the script that you worked from. You can turn that into an ebook, and you can put it on Amazon for 99 cents. And that's how a lot of people have discovered us. And so that is one approach. Another thing that you can do with social media is if you have anthologies that you're appearing in, yeah, advertise the anthologies. Let people know again. You treat a short story no differently than you treat a novel. You just have to make sure that you're you're just not constantly pushing the same product over and over and over again. Um, from Joe, is it difficult sometimes to post during the day due to my job? Is there a good scheduling system that you can post your content at certain times? Yes, that is Hootsuite. There's Hootsuite and there's Sprout Social. Both have they have free versions that allow you to schedule posts. Some of the platforms also, like I know Twitter and TweetDeck, which is another scheduling one. TweetDeck, which is still around, TweetDeck allows you to schedule posts as well. So you could literally take your nights, come home, and just do quick like blocks of time that you can schedule posts for different platforms, and then it will happen automatically. You should still check on it just to make sure that it posts.
I would also just add to something you said earlier, which is about talking about anthologies you're in and things, because it's important that we also promote each other. If a friend of yours has written a book, talk about it, to everybody else, because I think if
Right.
we push each other, we're not in competition with each other, and that helps them, and then they'll return the favor. And I would think, no,
Well,
I
yes and
found
no.
that it's worked.
Yes and no.
Maybe
Yes
it's
and no.
certain people.
No,
Okay.
no. What you're absolutely right, Michael. I mean, the it's goodwill. It's goodwill. But here's the other thing I would throw a little caution to with that. If you're going to promote somebody, promote their book and promote it because you want to,
Yes.
not because you feel obligated to. Because then if they don't reciprocate, you could find yourself in a very awkward situation if you suddenly blurt out, "Hey, wait a minute, I just pimped your book, Ventrilo. Why aren't you pimping mine?" And that's where I have seen some really awkward conversations occur because of that.
Okay.
And my thoughts about it is I promote other authors because I want to. I do not expect anybody to promote my books. In fact, again, Saint Windig, he had an entire blog post that said, I am not your platform and you are not mine. And he's just, I've promoted Chuck's books, left and right because I like Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck, I don't think has ever promoted any of my books. And you know what? I'm okay with that. He hasn't promoted social media for writers and he wrote the foreword. But you know what? It's okay because that's just the nature of things. And I don't if you go in saying I'm promoting this book out of goodwill and you're not expecting anything in return, forget about it. Now, if an author goes out of their way to promote your book, oh, you better say thank you.
Mhm.
And then you better point people to their books and go, "Hey, by the way, after you check out my books, check out Ventrilo's books because he's on it." Now, Sarah, I have a follow-up question for you, which is you said your thoughts about interviews and Audible. What do you mean by that? Do you mean about actually going on interview shows or putting stuff on Audible?
Well, let's do both of those things. Let's talk about doing blog. When you have guests, when you put your own thing. I mean, I've been doing these videos for Pocono Liars for like almost a year now.
Right.
Is that a good idea? I mean, is that going to help me, or is it just helping the people I'm interviewing?
It's a great idea.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. I have an entire section of Podcasting for Dummies where I talk about the art of the interview. Chuck Tomasi and I, we aim to do a podcast. We do a companion podcast for the book, so it's sort of like a try before you buy. And we always make each episode about 30 minutes long. The interview episode was nearly an hour, and it is one of the longer chapters in the book because we go into every possible thing that you could do and also don't want to do in an interview, not just from an interviewer's point of view, but an interviewee's point of view. You can F up an interview very quickly on both sides of the mic.
Mhm.
And you got to be real careful about that. The way an interview works is that I am not benefiting from Michael being on my show. Michael is not benefiting for being on my show either. we are having a synergy. We are sitting down and we are just riffing on the mics and having a damn good time. And that's what sells books.
Right.
And it helps my listenership grow because they go, wow, if they have this much fun, what's it like when it's just the two of them? What's it like when it's this? It is a synergy. Michael's helping me, I'm helping Mike, and it's never one of these, what are you going to do for me? It's that's some serious bullshit. And I would never say that. I would never say that to a guest. And if a guest says that to me, I'm gonna be like, well, this is going to be one short interview then. And it may never air. So when you do interviews, one, make sure you listen to the show to get a vibe for it, to see how they are. Second, if you're going on someone else's show, remember you're a guest, but they're also your host, and they better be nice to you. And if they haven't read the book, do not give them shit for that. Just don't. It's rude, you know. Now, granted, if let's say Ventrilo started let's say Ventrilo started a podcast and he wanted me on and he hadn't read one of my books. I've known Ventrilo long enough that I can bust his chops over it, but he knows that I'm busting his chops over it. If I go on somebody's show cold and I don't know them from a hole in the wall, that's an entirely different situation altogether.
Audible. Here's the question about Audible. Recording your own books to put them on Audible on Amazon. What are the risks on that? And I will tell you, I started recording my Constitution book just this week, and then I stopped because I thought I might have to do an updated version after what's going on right now.
So here's what you do, Mike. You post that on Audible, and you say, because that's what we did with the first edition of Social Media for Writers. We actually did an extra chapter on Periscope, which had just come out after the book had been released. So we wrote a special chapter on Periscope, and when we put it on Audible, which we independently did, we said featuring an exclusive chapter on Periscope. So that became a selling point for it. So Mike, you could literally say you could record the Constitution book and go featuring a special chapter called Trump This, you know, and then the House doesn't always win, or whatever you want to call it. But basically, you now have exclusive content that is not in print.
Let's go back to the technological part of it, though. I mean, you want it to sound good. I bought a very expensive microphone. I'm doing everything I can to make it sound as good as possible. It still doesn't sound as good as what you did to my recording that I did for your short story. And do I have to be that good is what I'm asking.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, because Audible has QC. Now, is it worth it? Now, again, you talk about major investment. We talked about investment. I already had the equipment because I'm into podcasting. The good news is if you decide you want to get into Audible, which really isn't a social media platform, we're kind of straying into audiobooks, but I'm going to keep this real short and keep it on point. If you decide you want to record your own audiobooks, the good news is now you have all the equipment to make a podcast. So you got no excuse. Pick up my book and boom, you're ready to go. But there's still some investment. For example, our studio is in a finished basement. It's the only room that's carpeted. While you can't see it, I have a curtain rod that has quilts hanging off of it. Those work as poor man's dampeners. So right now I have what's called a noise floor of practically zero. But I have to also make sure that I know this is high. And again, this is high investment because you have to learn all these terminologies, because Audible is going to assume you already know this and throw it back at you, which means you're not going to do it on GarageBand. You're going to be working with Adobe Audition, which is a higher attempt. I don't edit any of the audiobooks in here. That's all Pip.
Then let's stop, because that is a completely different topic we could spend an entire hour on. And we
could come back and talk about that too, because if I were to give any advice to new authors, I would say, 1, build yourself a social media platform. 2, in your contracts, make sure you get the audio rights, because that's money on the table. That is money on the table. Now, when you say doing interviews, yes, I think interviews, like I said, I think interviews are great, but if you want to get more details on that, again, I would suggest looking at either Twitch or Podcasting for Dummies, because I do cover that in both. When you say, Carol said that she had a follow-up, when you say podcast the short story, do I mean read the story or talk about it? It could be both. The beautiful thing about doing a podcast, and I did this with both Moravia and Billy Battings. I would read a chapter from the book, and then I would have a segment for like maybe 15, 20 minutes. And it would be the Billy banter was for Billy Battings. That would just be me riffing about the episode, talking about what the challenges were, who I was working with, things like that. With Moravia, it was notes from the captain's quarters, or just and in the captain's quarters, I would talk about the inspirations behind things. You can do whatever you want in your podcast. It's just it's your imagination. And as far as the bell is concerned, again, the bell is actually a throwback to a radio show called the Don and Mike Show, and it was their plug bell. And what happens is, if you ever said Mike, where can people pick up your book on the First Amendment and the Constitution?
Oh, on Amazon. Oh, and many other places, Barnes and Nobles, every place. My webpage.
But your webpage is specifically what now?
michaelventrella.com.
See, it's got to be a .com, .biz, .tv. Yeah, but the other thing is that the plug bell can also be an emphasis. Like if Michael or I say something that's really important, I can just go, and so that's the story of the bell. It all started with Don and Mike, and Geek Radio Daily does it, and I do it, and it's become a thing. And I get asked that quite often.
All right, so back to the main thing, which is that if you're a new writer, the three things you should be looking at is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And with Instagram is mostly pictures, but you can put pictures that are related to your book.
But now there's a workaround with Instagram, because Instagram is about being in the moment. Instagram. It's being in the moment, which means you can, which means that you cannot. You can't upload or download from your computer any photographs you might have there. So here's the workaround. Let's say I've got, one, you can take photographs. You can take photographs with, and I can't stress it enough. You saw it when I switched over to the cat cam very briefly at the beginning. This O light that I have here, this O-ring light that I use for studio lighting, it's actually quite versatile. And I had to do a couple of product photographs for Podcasting for Dummies, the 4th edition, on my own, because I couldn't get in touch with a vendor. And you can do that with your books. You're seeing more and more authors do these really elaborate photo shoots around their books or around the covers.
Only with the phone, right? You can't use it with the computer. Is that
no,
correct?
You've got to use it with your phone.
Yeah, Heidi just got it, and that was a big surprise to us. Yeah.
Right. So here's the workaround. What you do is, let's say you have a really nice photograph and it's on your computer, but you want to use it for Instagram. Okay. What you do is you either email, or you airdrop, or you wirelessly send via Bluetooth, or you text yourself that photograph. And then when that photograph appears, you hold your finger or your thumb on it, and the phone should say save to camera roll. You say yes, and now it's on your camera roll. Now you can use it on Instagram. And you can put whatever caption you like on it. You can put whatever you need just to put it on there. That's the workaround that people are now doing and using for that. But a lot of people are now using they're using their mobile phones for more than just taking photographs, and the phones have really caught up. I rarely use my 35. I have a beautiful 35 millimeter camera, and I rarely use it. Mm-hmm. I have shot for the Obama-led initiative code.gov. I shot not one, not two, 3 different video projects, all from my phone. And people could not get enough of it. And it's gotten so sophisticated. Again, high investment. At various tech stores, you can get a Steadicam for your phone. I'm going to say that again. You can get a Steadicam for your phone. And guess what? Yes, you should get it, because I have used that for various mobile streams that I've done. I've done check-ins from TwitchCon. I've done check-ins from regular cons, and people can't get enough of it. They love it. But the thing is, instead of it being my hand and a herky-jerky Blair Witch Project sort of thing, I have a Steadicam. Oh, I look ridiculous. But that's the thing. When you do any of this stuff in social media, never be afraid of looking ridiculous.
let me ask you about book videos. You used to do, I saw you do some promotional book videos for your early steampunk novels.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
still do those, and are they any good? And do people even care about them? Do they work?
They're fun. They're fun to promote.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun to do. Did they sell books?
That's the question.
It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
They're very time consuming. But let me give you a quick story though. So the last book trailer I did was for the Diamond Conspiracy. It was the fourth book in the series of the Ministry of Peculiar Occurrences, and we shot that in 8 hours. We shot that for and we shot it from 8, actually not 8 hours. Yeah, 8 hours. 8 in the morning. 8 in the evening we started, and we wrapped at 3 a.m. And we shot, not by choice, it just happened to be this, but we shot it on the coldest day on record in Richmond, Virginia. That being said, and I shot it with, let's see, I had two film crew assistants. I had 2 actors, and one of the film crew assistants was also doubling as a third actor. So counting all that, the lights and everything, I had all the props, I had all the things I needed for the book trailer. And what we would do is we would shoot for a few hours, then go in and warm up, then come back outside, shoot some more, go in and warm up. And it was hard. It was hard work. Do I know if that, and then after I shot for 8 hours on that one night, it took me about a week to do the editing, reviewing of the footage, post-production, credits, etc. So that was a week and a half where I didn't do any writing. A week and a half where I didn't do any writing. It was just, it was all, we were all over the place. Okay. Did it sell books? I couldn't tell you. Did it get me a job with said Obama initiative for code.gov? Yeah, because they saw that and said, oh, this guy can edit video too. And it got me a gig. So it did serve a purpose, just not really with the book. But was it fun to do? Oh, it was hella fun. And I'm real. If you would ask me, was I happy with the final result? Oh, hell yeah. I was really happy with it. But the thing about book trailers is that they are high investment. They are very time consuming. But would I recommend doing it? No, I would not recommend book trailers. They're fun when you have a budget and you have someone else doing them for you. But no, I would not recommend them at all.
Okay. For Twitter, it used to be that you could post on Facebook and it would automatically go to Twitter, but they don't do that anymore, if I'm not correctly, unless there's some sort of trick I'm not aware of.
Wait, say that again.
I used to have it so that whenever I posted something on Facebook, it would automatically post on Twitter, and now it's not doing that.
Facebook and Twitter don't do that. No.
Right.
Facebook and Twitter don't do that, but you can on like Instagram post automatically to Facebook and Twitter. There are third-party apps that will take one post and cross-post it.
That's what I was saying.
And you can do that. That is something you can do. And then there are other platforms where you can cross-post. And again, as I said earlier, you can schedule, and those are great. But and there are some people that are like, well, no, every post has to be original. I used to be that person, but then I discovered something, not just with book promotion, but also with Kickstarter, which in a sense is a platform. That is a social media platform in paying for projects. And it's that you could say something on Facebook and people will miss it because they're looking for you on Twitter. You could say something on Twitter and people on Facebook are going to miss it because they don't do Twitter. So if you've got one message, if you have a really nice And yes, because you're a writer, make sure your grammar is on point. Do not say your with as you are. Say Y-O-U-R or Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, not you are. Please don't do that. Um, so you craft one really good message, cross post it. Because that way I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Tumblr. Now I never check Tumblr, but I know there's an audience there, and there are people who have read my books because they've seen my Instagram post cross posted to Tumblr. So there's that. And again, what you want to do when you're starting in social media is keep it simple. Try to be as economic with your time as possible, and if that is taking one message and scheduling it for 3 or 4 different posts, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If it's making one post and then cross posting it at that moment, that's fine too. You just
Let
want to
me,
make sure that you're covering you're covering as much real estate as you can, but not overreaching yourself so that you're suddenly overwhelmed.
so as we're running out of time here, what what advice do you have that we haven't discussed yet for a new writer who's really getting into this and doesn't really know what they're doing, other than hit those 3: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram,
Well,
that we haven't already talked about? That's what I mean.
right. So I put in the so you got me kind of thinking about it too. I put into the chat the YouTube link to that steampunk book trailer that I was just talking about, the one that we shot on the coldest day in Richmond.
Mhm.
Um,
I've seen it. It's very good.
yeah, and it really is a lot of fun. But this is the advice that I would give. Um, if you find out that Facebook isn't for you, that is more than okay. There's no law that states I have to have a Facebook group. I have to have a Facebook page, right? Um, there are some people that I know that have a very limited approach to Facebook, but their YouTube game is strong. But here's what you need to know about these higher, and this is why I keep bringing up the higher investment. It's not because I've been published in that respect. It's more about what you're getting into. This steampunk book trailer is less than 3 minutes. It feels longer, which is good because I want it to feel like you're getting a story and there's a beginning, a middle, and end, and there's a crescendo, and there's all these different things that are happening in there. It's only 3 minutes, but for those 3 minutes of video, there was 8 hours of filming in miserable conditions, and then there was a week of editing, of post production. I was sweetening sound effects. There's a lot that goes into this, and the reason I went that far was because I wanted it to look as professional as possible. But whenever you work in these the higher technical fields, audio, video editing, audio editing, that is time. And if you think social media is time consuming, podcasting, Twitch, all of these different things, book trailers and Kickstarter projects, those are also extremely time intensive. The days of doing the one shot where you've got, I mean, unless you're gaming, unless you're Phil Foglio, unless you're an established name, plopping yourself in front of a webcam and going, I want to raise $5,000 for this book. And then in 3 days you get $20,000. Yeah, those days are long gone for unknown authors. You can't do that anymore. You have to have, and that's what I would say would be was the biggest benefit, Michael, to doing those book trailers. I now had all this footage that I can pull from for Kickstarter videos. But again, those types of things, I think in that respect, because I have a background in video editing, I have a background in audio editing, thanks to podcasting. But you're coming into this cold. That's time you have to give yourself. You have to give yourself to be able to learn how to do, and it's not going to happen overnight. So the advice that I get, again, go back to, is find the platforms where you feel like you excel. And then if you want to start looking into other things like podcasting, or you want to get into streaming, ask people that you know and that you trust, okay, where do I begin? And if they don't say Twitch for Dummies, that's a great place to start. But again, you're not going to start like where you see people who are doing really well in it. You're not going to start there. You're going to start from ground zero. Give yourself time. Be patient, whether it's a low investment or high investment in social media. Give yourself time to grow. Otherwise, you're gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna lose interest.
All right. Well,
I think that should cover it.
yes. Then finally, tell us where they can find you if they have questions, or they can find out about your books and everything else they need to know.
I think the best and easiest place to find me is, hang on. I'll go ahead. I can go ahead and just quickly drop it into
But
chat right here. But yes, I'm about to say it. It's tmorris.com. That is well, not common, but .com. That is the best place to find me. Because, and this again is a discussion for another time. When it comes to blogs, you want to make sure that you give people one place to go. Because if I say, well, you can find me at twitch.tv/the T Monster, you can find me at facebook.com/author T Morris. You can go to Twitch, you can go to twitter.com. See what I mean? I mean, it just, you start to trip over yourself. So I tell people, go to tmorris.com. And when you go to tmorris.com, you'll see across the top where to find my Discord, where to find my Facebook, where to find my Twitter. Heck, you can even find where to find me on Untapped, which is it is a social media platform for beer lovers. And it is a gamification of trying different beers.
No MySpace?
Yeah, no. I last I heard, I think Trump was starting up his MySpace account again. But if I had a MySpace account, it would be up in that menu. Give people one place to go, and from there, then you can send them to other different places.
All right. Well, thank you very much, T. We appreciate you being here. Everyone, check him out. There's books are going to help, and I think this is very informative. I learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.